Okay, guys, welcome to this episode of Choice Driven with Dave Kearsey. I've titled this one From Inverell to the Wallabies of Deaf Rugby, the Dave Kearsey story. It's been one I've wanted to do for a little while. So this story is proudly supported by Lab Network. Lab Network has been created and is based right there in Tamworth. The Lab Network started with Work Lab, helping people navigate workplace injuries, workers' compensation and rehabilitation with a focus on getting people back to work and back to life. From there, Paddy recognised that healthcare isn't one size fits all. So they built Pain Lab. He focused on persistent pain, complex conditions, and helping people better understand their pain, rebuild confidence, and take control of their recovery. Then there's Physio Lab. They're home for everyday physiotherapy, from backs, necks, sporting injuries, or if you just want some hands-on treatment, exercise, or recovery. It's about helping everyday people move better and feel better. And finally, he's introduced Sports Lab. It's built for athletes, sports injury management, return to sport rehabilitation, strength and conditioning, athlete development, and helping athletes recover stronger and performing better, which a lot of you young fellas out there would be great to get hold of. Together, though, they make up the Lab Network. 4 specialised services, one connected approach to health, recovery and performance, all based in Tamworth. So country New South Wales finally gets something that the cities have had for a long time. Work Lab, Pain Lab, Physio Lab and Sports Lab. They all create the Lab Network. And they're proud supporters of today's episode of Choice Driven Podcast with Dave Kearsey. So, Dave, I've written a bit of a spiel about you, mate, so welcome.
Thanks for having me, mate.
No, mate, it's a long time, been a long time coming that I think a lot of stories need to get out there, mate, and I really wanted to talk to you about your story. So I'm a little bit professional. I try to be, and I've written an introduction. So today's guest is someone whose story is about a lot more than rugby. But rugby's been a thread running through his life for a very long time, I think it's fair to say. Dave Kearsey is a proud son, proud brother, a proud husband, a proud father, and now a proud grandfather, I believe, young fella.
That's right, mate, yeah.
Yep. He's a country New South Wales rugby man, a successful business owner, a former Australian Deaf Rugby representative, and today he sits here as a head coach of the Australian Deaf Rugby team. But this interview is a little bit different for me because Dave and I go back a long way. I believe it's 30 years this year. I started year 11 at Inverell High School, and that's where our paths sort of crossed. So, in fact, rugby's been a part of our relationship almost from the beginning. So Dave was part of the first rugby team I ever played in, the Inverell High School Headless Roos. What a name. At the time, we were part of rebuilding rugby in Inverell High School under the guise of the great Matthew Taylor. Still one of the best coaches I've ever had to this day. Still remember those early days of getting that program up and going and playing together and some of the shenanigans that that carried on. But what started as schoolboy rugby in Inverell for Dave would turn into a pretty remarkable country career. He went on to play, now listen to this, he went on to play for the Inverell Highlanders, eventually becoming the first grade captain. Now this kid, who always caused trouble at school, whatever, in a leadership position, we all grow up eventually, Dave. In 2006, Dave captained the Inverell Highlanders to their first ever first grade premiership, the club's first in 118 years, I believe.
Yep, spot on, mate, yep.
That wasn't a one-off though, mate, was it? He's went on to appear in 4 consecutive grand finals. When we were growing up, mate, that was what the Pirates used to do. That was never anything the Highlanders did, and to do that, and you won another first grade premiership in 2008. So it's a quick turnaround, really. You've usually got that attrition. Dave then moved his family to Port Macquarie and continued rugby with the Hastings Valley Vikings, where the success followed him. He played in another 4 grand finals with the Vikings and won 3 premierships from 4 appearances. You don't waste your opportunities, mate. So before we even get to representing Australia, we're talking about a bloke who played in 8 grand finals across 2 country rugby clubs, 2 country zones, and came away with 5 first grade premierships. That's a hell of a country rugby career right there. But Dave's rugby journey certainly didn't finish there. The game would eventually take this kid from Inverell all the way to representing Australian Deaf Rugby, captaining the Deaf Rugby side.
Yep.
And ultimately becoming the head coach of your country. Have you ever said it like that before to yourself, Dave?
Yeah, mate, I got to pinch myself a few times, but mate, it's been a great. I wouldn't trade any of the journey. It's been great fun.
Mate, 100%. Look, before we get into your story, though, I also want to acknowledge two people that are incredibly important to both Dave's story and my own, and that's your mum and dad, Desi and Pete Kearsey.
Yeah.
Both Desi and Pete were recognised with the Medal of the Order of Australia for their service to their community. Sadly, Pete's recognition came this year after his passing, so he'll be awarded it posthumously. For me personally, they were much more than Dave's mum and dad. There was a period in my own life where I could have went either way after getting back from the military, where I was struggling with my PTSD and my injuries that I carried throughout my service and tried to carry into civilian life. Desi and Pete were two of the main instigators, along with Big Brian McLennan. We'll give Brian a call, shout out, through the RSL, who helped me get back on track. They helped me rebuild parts of my life when I needed it, and that's something I'll always be incredibly grateful to your mum and dad for, mate. So today, I want to go right back to the beginning. Okay, so before the Australian jersey, before the coaching, before the premierships and the business, I want to talk about Inverell, family, school, the Headless Roos, how the hell we got that name, the Highlanders, the Vikings, bush rugby. Maybe have a chat around how you ended up with your hearing disability at 17. 17 was it?
Yeah, 17 years old.
You had an incident that changed your life. And it's about what we talk about here on Choice Driven, which is, there's choices that we make and consequences to our choices, but making the best of whichever road we end up on. Representing Australia and eventually becoming the man responsible for leading Australian Deaf Rugby into the future. Because I was there for just that small part of it, Dave, before I went away to the Army, I'm looking forward to hearing what happened in between until we sort of come back to catching up with each other on a semi-regular basis. So, Dave, mate, thanks for joining us. Hope this goes well, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, no worries at all. Like I said, mate, I pinch myself. I'm a very blessed man, and I've somehow sort of gone through that journey. But mate, I love those Inverell days. Like they were the prime days. It was simpler times. Those Inverell high days. Even though you were that streaky bloody line out jumper, mate, it was boys having fun, and that's even though my journey through rugby right up to national level and standing for the national anthem, things like that. Well, they're very proud of all that, but it's still boys having fun, mate. Rugby's boys having fun and doing it for each other, and that doesn't change at all.
You look back at that photo, mate, of us at Inverell High, and that team had no right to do anything good. Don't get me wrong, a lot of talented players, but there was a lot of us blokes that had never played before. Like, shit, I'd been 70 kilos ringing wet, but you guys found a way to bring us into the mold, like Daryl Murphy, someone like that. You found a way to bring us into the mold, and that, I'll honestly say, that's what started my love affair with rugby. It was that you felt like you're part of something, and it didn't matter what your size, shape, or creed was.
It was such a motley crew too. Like we were just all country boys with Toby Cowder, Nathan Garrett, Michael Champion, Hixie. Even those blokes, we're all just put in, and we're given Matty Taylor and the late great Dicko, and
shout out to Dicko, mate. What a legend.
Yeah, they just said, boys, and I remember them saying to us all the time. They just said, because we were coming up against these big blokes from other towns and other cities, and they were just saying, just chop them in half. Like you boys don't ever look at someone and think they're better than you. Like you boys are country boys, and it's just mate, it takes me right back. It was so much fun.
It's the first, like I said, it's the first time, like for myself, I had a big mouth, but I wasn't a confident person, and it's the first time I probably really felt confident in being around people. Was the day Matty Taylor up there, he literally said, "You're tall enough, you'll do. Come here," and chuck me on a scrum machine, mate. And I was like, "What the fuck?" But But anyway, look, let's go right back to the start. We'll get to that part. Like, I got shivers just then, just thinking about that. That was yeah. Look, so who was Dave Kearsey when you were growing up in Inverell, mate? Tell us about growing up in Inverell, what the town was like back then, what your family household was like, mate.
Mate, I can only reflect on it now. I'm 46 now, and I reflect on how lucky we were back then. I had obviously mum and dad who were just the pillar, just the proper salt of the earth, the best people you can imagine. That you talk about how they helped you, and mate, and that's great. And there'd be 1,000 other people. That's Dad spent his whole life helping other people. He knew the importance of being kind to people and the benefits of doing stuff for other people. And so does Mum. Mum lives and breathes it. Talk about anyone that's interacted with those two people over Dad's life and over Mum's life still today. And mate, they're just in service of their community and other people. And me and my brothers are so proud. But we grew up on the farm. The three boys, we were out on the farm and just catching.
So you weren't always at Southside there?
No, we come in when I was about 6, I think. We were little kids out there, and I was the youngest of 3, so I used to get bashed a bit by the boys, and
well deserved.
Yeah, but my parents, Mum and Dad, used to say I was the best climber. We had this walnut tree, and if the boys were bashing me and I was no good, I'd shoot up that quicker than anything. And some mum said I'd stay up there for a day or two sometimes. So, but yeah, mate, that was back in the days where there was no seatbelts and no. We'd be gone. No one knew where we were. We were off on motorbikes as little kids. And then we moved into town, into Albandale Road, which is, just become one of the sort of features of Inverell. The amount of thousands of people that have pulled in there for a cup of tea or for a Christmas Day dinner, or Mum just invites the whole town in. I don't know if it's just been an open door policy that you can just walk in there, and it's such a warm, loving house, that one. And it's been all of our hundreds of friends and their families and strangers. And sometimes we've had a Christmas dinner and a few people are walking past and Mum just invites them in. Yeah, we're very blessed. And because we have 3 boys growing up together, we were all fairly close in age. We're all only a grade apart. So my friends were their friends there. So our house on any given Saturday would be 6 or 7 blokes all jumping in Dad's van to go down to Plains Video or whatever and get some movies. And mate, we had plenty of weekends where there was about $20 worth of hot chips. We'd just drown in chicken salt, and that'd feed a lot of us. And yeah, mate. We've got a lot of friends, like family out at sort of near Tinga, so we're out there swimming, and just proper country boys, and all played sport. I don't know. I look back and I don't know how our parents got us around all the sports carnivals. We Warrior, Moree, Glen Innes, Tamworth, all over the place, and Dad just got us all there, and we just grew up all playing sports. Sometimes we overlapped and played in the same teams, which was incredible. But yeah, we did that all through, and then we ended up all going to uni together. So the 3 boys, I remember Mum.
Where was that at, mate?
That was in Newcastle. Yeah. So we spent 3. I remember Mum. When I was the last one to move down there, and all 3 of us lived in the same house, and I remember Mum just so worried that we were just going to go on a bloody 3-year bender. Really, she knew. And
did you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but the important thing with us, like we're no different than any other boys. We grew up, having a bit of a punch up here and there and playing footy, but we're always, because of Mum and Dad, we're always respectful, and we always had an open door, and we'd always, all of our mates around us, we'll taught the value of mateship. So we always had that moral compass, I suppose. So we had some loose moments, mate. We had 2 older brothers, pretty good looking characters, so they used to have women hanging around.
You're not going to give them that, are you?
Oh, mate, I was the ugly duckling of the youngest, but simple boys. We did what we could. We always respectful to Mum and Dad and to other elders as well. It's very important to us that the elders are shown every respect, and my brothers always there'll be a firm handshake, but they'll look you in the eye when they shake your hand, and they'll open the door for you if you need to get out, and we'll open a car door. We're very lucky in the way we were brought up that way, and it carried on. But we had some fun years down in Newcastle, and then we all sort of went our separate ways. We actually all played on the same rugby league team down in Newcastle, and
you go back and do an old boys' day, don't you, each year for that?
Yeah, I was a flying fullback back then, and I actually made the country team, and then I played for the tertiary country team and played city versus country, and then I played for New South Wales versus Queensland and
this
Victoria.
This is in league.
Yeah, in league. Yeah. I was, but it was we had mates from Tenterfield and Pico and Maney, the Tenterfield boys, and we had a few other boys from Inverell and in the Spencer boys, Reg and Rob. Yeah, they didn't play much because they couldn't comb their hair enough. And,
I was going to say, he's right. Reg would be on some yacht in the bloody Pacific somewhere, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he didn't like getting dirty, I read, but I love him. But no, we just, and back then we weren't really trying to achieve anything. We just wanted to play with our mates, and we did that all through school, and we did that on weekends, and we did that on afternoons down the back paddock, and we did that. And when we got to uni, we did it as well, and we always had a very sporting life, and we all, when it wasn't footy season, we were doing something, we were playing touch, but we were very grateful that all that sort of sport brought us lifetime mates and bonds, and I'd walk over hot coals for any of those blokes, and so would me brothers, and very proud of my parents, and also very proud of me two older brothers, and we're very blessed in our family. We're all extremely close. We've got 1 million kids. We're breeders.
You do.
Yeah, the TV didn't work too well in Inverell. But we've got a great tribe of Kearsey kids, and Dad was at the top of all that, and now there's a lot of generations of these Kearsey kids, and they're all crazy and funny and just amazing little humans. And so the Kearsey, and we're passing on that same moral compass that Dad and Mum gave us to them. So they'll all grow up. We'll make sure they all grow up to be good humans. They're all playing sport and they're killing it, and they're bloody smart asses. They're good little buggers. But yeah, I've got grandkids now too, mate. So we're
how old are your grandkids, bud?
6, I think. Oh, shit, I should bloody check that. 6. No, I've got 2, and they're bloody awesome. And they come over here with my daughter Caitlin, who I'm very proud of, and she's a great mum. And all my kids. I've got 6 kids myself: Tyler, Caitlin, Charlie, Ellie, Lacey, and Cooper. And mate, Tyler's in England doing well, and Caitlin's been a mum in Inverell. Mate, we're just very blessed. They're all healthy and just crazy, mate. I love them.
You are if you don't mind me saying this, Dave, you are, and I'll get back to this, but we're on a good track here. You had Tyler very young, and then obviously Caitlin came next, and then the other 4 that you've got came a lot, not a lot later, but later again. So there's a big gap between, really, wasn't there? Because you had Tyler young. How was that as a young fellow, mate? Like.
Yeah, mate, it's full on. Like I've reflected on that a bit. That I'm older. That I've never really made any decision after I was about 17. Well, I had Tyler when I just turned 18, but I never really made any decision in my sporting life or in any of my life that it didn't involve being a father. I just don't know life without being a father, and all that sort of rugby journey and those Highlander bus trips, and even when I was down in Newcastle Uni, I know there's photos of our bus trips, and you know what the bus trips were like back then, and Tyler's asleep on the front of this when we're down at the Inverell Highlanders Rugby Club
on the front of the bus.
Oh yeah, bloody oath, yeah, and I'm half nude leading a song in the aisle, and no, he never complained. That boy, he's such a champion. And mate, there's so many. When we had a reunion back in Inverell, and I remember people mentioned I used to stand behind the bar, and there was the tackle pads. We used to put them under the bar, and Tyler and Caitlin just slept on them, mate. We'd chuck a few jumpers on them, and it'd be 4 a.m, and we're dancing around. Those two are sound asleep. They're bloody champions. So my kids also live the rugby life, but being a dad when I just turned 18, it was tough, and Tyler was, I had the blinkers on. He was my responsibility, and so was his sister, and that's no different now with the younger kids. But mate, I wouldn't change a thing. Like Tyler is my boy. He's my rock solid boy, and yeah, I'd burn the world down for him, and he's gone on to play really well in football. But all of those kids, the biggest thing we get out of them, and same with me brothers and their kids, is that they all carry the same moral compass as mum and dad, mate. It's bloody rock solid.
I've got a question here that I was going to ask about that, the values, but you covered that very well. But and both your parents, as I said, like your mum deserves a sainthood for putting up with you 3, to be honest with you.
I couldn't agree more.
And not only that, but they've kept their calm demeanour through the whole thing, which is, look at my mum, man. Like after us 3, she's ready for the loony bin. But no, love her to death. But like they both received, your mum and dad both received the Medal of Order of Australia. That's no joke, mate. That is no joke.
Oh, mate, it is. I don't even know if that exists with anyone else, but both parents. So when Mum got it, obviously we were extremely proud, and I could fill a 10-hour podcast with the amount of things. Like I remember when I lived in Inverell, I'd get people just come and throw. I had this bloke once who just chucked 2 ton of wood over my back fence, and I ran up and said, "What are you doing?" And he said that if Mum didn't treat him and get him back on track, he would have lost his farm.
Yep.
And he was told that he wouldn't be able to work again. And Mum treated him for years and wouldn't take any money. And he said, "Where's your son live?" And he just wanted to do that because Mum would not take anything from. And there's a million stories like that. There's so many people that those two, and Mum continues to do it. She does it every day now. She drives out to Warrior and treats all these people for free. And mate, we're so glad. And to get those OAMs, we're so proud. And it's hard not to get emotional about dads because very deserving.
Yeah. So, mate, I remember. So I came back after my first time in like when I was in East Timor, right? And I come back, I got hurt over there. We won't go into that shit. But I came back and Catherine, my wife, was living at home because back in Tinga and that with her parents at that stage, which was great in a small town. Everyone thought we'd broken up. You know how it works. But I'm overseas for 9 months. And I came back after I got hurt. I had a spine injury. And my mum took me around to your mum. And I shit you not, it was a Sunday, right? And they just finished playing rugby. She goes, "Come in, Pete. Come in through the back." And you come down around the side of the house and come in through up the back into the physio area there from what I remember. Anyway, that's how I remember that day. There'd be 30 people laid out from the Highlanders game the day before. They got needles in them. They got cups on them. She's working around. Yep, just keep using that band, whatever. And I said to her then, I said, "Jesus, Desi, you're flat out." And she's like, "That's all right, Pete. You're one of my boys. Come in here. We'll have a look." Anyway, I went to pay her and she wouldn't let me. I said, "Oh, you're already making enough for today." And she said, "No, they're all getting it for free." So I'm like,
mate. The worst thing when we were growing up, and it's not a bad thing actually, is that mum would have 15 patients all on beds, and half of them she was treating for free. But while she's treating them, she continues to be so proud of the 3 of us. So she'd be just telling them her life story. So we'd go away and we'd come home and be down at Coles and just talking to the checkout person, and they'd know that we won a game on the weekend or something. Yeah. They know everything about us. So half of Inverell knows the Dave, Bill and Bob Kearsey story. So their mum just very proud of us, and she still does that, mate. It's still may it keep going, I reckon.
I know firsthand how proud she is of you boys, mate, and your dad. I did many an Anzac Day with your dad, and it was one of my favourite things. We sit there after we're blind on we'd get drunk and just sitting up the top of the RSL club there and talking shit, and he'd be telling and my old man had come over and they'd him and your old man would sit there, and I'd be the worst in the world, I'd just cop it, barrage, but it was all love, but
mate, we found out that there's pretty much not a park bench or a footpath or a shade shelter or a barbecue in Inverell in the last 50 years that he hasn't built, and there's pretty much not a meat tray sold that he hasn't had a ticket in either. So I don't know how they're going selling meat trays in Inverell anymore.
Well, mate, you think of Pete Kearsey, and the first thing you think of is with him with that blue apron on at the Venetian Carnival, selling tickets to that chocolate wheel, and he'd always give you an extra one.
Yeah, mate. We're so proud of Dad. We all miss him dearly, obviously, but we're so blessed to have had him. He's the best of the best, mate.
How so has his award? Excuse my ignorance on this. Has his award been? Has it been received?
No, so we're a bit nervous about that. So Dad asked us on his deathbed, and he said that he wanted to, and I won't go into it, but he made us promise that we'd put half of his ashes on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So that's when he came to Australia and realised that he could actually have a life in Australia when he saw that bridge. And he realised that people could actually be kind to each other once he got there. There's a bit of a story about that, but and the other half is out the short side at the dam. So so when his OAM presentation is in September, so it's only next month, and then it's just me, Mum, Bill, and Bob that are going to that. Mum just wants to sit there and let the 3 boys get up and accept it for him, which is a great honour.
100%.
yeah, so we'll do that, and then we're all four of us are just we're gonna take Mum to the bridge and get her out there in the middle of the bridge, and we'll say a bit to the old fella. We'll have a bit of a yarn to him, and then we'll put half of his ashes there, like I promised him I would, and then we'll have the IM ceremony will be great, but then we're going to organise for all the grandkids and all that. We'll all meet out the short side, and we'll have a yarn to him out there as well.
Righto, guys. So that's episode 1 done with Dave Kearsey. We talked about some really good stuff in there, brought back some great memories, and that's what this is about. It's about getting the stories out there so that we can, I suppose, relive our childhoods, but also pass on the knowledge to the younger generation. Stay tuned. We've still got 4 more episodes of Dave. Believe it or not, the man would not shut up, but it was a great chat. See you on episode 2.